Today we're going to continue with this trend this week of doing things a little bit differently because, as you can see, there are more condos behind me, and today I'm back in Surfside, Florida, but today I'm by the beach, guys, and I'm on the little beach walk they have over here. And the place that you're looking at behind me is called the Surf Club. It is a ultra luxury, super fancy building where really only the elite can afford anything. There's not even anything here for sale right now besides like one unit, okay? There's one unit for sale, 1 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1,200 square feet, 3.8 million. That's the price, guys. And that's a small unit here. So imagine what the 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms cost. Easily you're getting up into the $8 to $12 million range for something nice facing the beach over here and with more space. So this is super expensive, and this is kind of becoming the entire trend around here in Surfside. This neighborhood used to be very affordable just a few years ago, before all these luxury developments started going up here. I remember when some of these old buildings, you could get something available for around $350,000, oceanfront apartment. You might not have a view, but you're gonna be on the beach. Well, those days are obviously over, guys, and even in the cheap, crappy buildings here, you're looking at $500,000 and up. And that could be for a 1 bedroom, small 2 bedrooms, gonna be over 600,000. It's nuts. But the reason I came over here today, we're gonna walk past the Champlain Towers that collapsed over here about a year ago because one of my longtime subscribers, Chris Drums, he requested an update on this, and I've been wanting to make an update on it for a long time, just haven't done it. And that request was the perfect excuse for me to do it. And I love interacting with my loyal subscribers that have been with me a long time, and it'd be a good day to come over here and see what's going on with this place. Now, the first thing I want to talk about today, guys, is the remote work debacle that's going on, okay? Now, I'm not for or against remote work. I'm neutral on this. I don't care if you're a remote worker or not, or what you think about it, but I just want to give you some of the facts that are happening and how this might affect the overall housing market long term. So places like Walmart, Apple, Google, JP Morgan, Verizon, Ford, Bank of America, you name it, all of these companies are requiring their employees to come back to the office, if not full-time, at least on a hybrid schedule. In fact, Apple just announced after their long-time standoff with their employees that they're gonna have to have their employees come back to the office for 3 days a week minimum. And this is just a short list, guys. There's plenty of other companies that are doing this as well, but what we're seeing here is a lot of these companies starting to reverse their policy on remote work. And one thing I've been talking a lot in the videos is just how much remote work has had an unintended side effect on the housing market, especially in desirable places like here in Miami, where many remote workers moved to during the pandemic. And now that these companies are starting to require their employees to come back to the office, I think we're going to see an overall reversal in these remote work hotspots. And I think this could have a major impact on the housing market, just like it had a major impact with people moving in. It's going to have a major impact with people moving out. The big question is, and the big unknown is, how many companies are going to continue to follow this trend. And you don't really know, like in Miami, for example, how many people are here from Apple or Amazon or JP Morgan or whatever. They could be from other companies that are still allowing them to remote work and keeping things in demand here. Because if there's a lot of remote workers here, then the demand is there. You're going to see prices stay high. Now, you see, this right here is one of the Champlain Tower buildings that's obviously still standing. And this one is almost an exact replica of the one that fell down. And we're approaching that one in a couple blocks here. But I just saw a unit here for sale, guys. They were asking about close to $700,000 for this unit. It's super old, needs full renovation and all of that, and it faces the street. So it's not even that nice, and they're asking $700K. And on top of that, you could be buying in a building that could have potential structural issues, because the crazy thing is nobody knows why this building fell down yet. But I'm trying to stay on the remote work topic for now. Now, remote work is just one piece of the puzzle that made home prices go nuts, guys. A friend of mine, he sent me an article today that was really interesting about why rental inflation is still so high. And there's a couple interesting dynamics that took place during the pandemic that kind of made things shift in the direction that they have. Here are a couple of interesting points that this article made. One is that people moved out of a multifamily living situation during the pandemic, because if you think about it, they were trying to tell everybody to isolate and stay away from people. So a lot of people got scared and decided to move into their own place, especially younger Gen Z people that just so happen to be also wanting to get out in the world and rent their first place for the first time ever. Just this one factor put a huge demand on the rental market that wasn't there prior to the pandemic. And then if you combine this with historically low mortgage interest rates and just how many people were in the marketplace to buy a home, that they bought their first home, right? People bought a second home or a vacation home. People were investing in real estate. There was all kinds of reasons to get into buying real estate when the rates were extremely low, and people are turning these places into investment properties and vacation rental properties that further deplete the inventory for people to move into, especially with the vacation rentals, because once a vacation rental goes up, that eliminates that property from the long-term rental market. But now, guys, that this remote work trend is reversing and a lot of companies are calling their employees back to the office, I think we could easily see a reversal in this overall trend. Because first of all, think about this. People aren't afraid of the pandemic no more. We're putting that behind us, and people are going to be starting to be willing to move in together again. That's the first thing. And whether they like it or not, people might have to start moving in together again, because inflation is crushing everybody's wallet and making things completely unaffordable, where people are going to have to start shacking up 3, 4, 5 people in one apartment just to make ends meet with prices where they are right now, with rent, food, gas, utilities, everything going through the roof. And then if we couple that with a reversal in the remote work trend, then I think this could easily be enough to turn things around, especially in the rental market, guys. Let's come back to that in just a minute, because I made it over here to where the collapse site is. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show you guys because they do have this place blocked off, but let's take a look for a second. So this is it. They have like security here, and probably not allowed to come in here. But you guys can see, this is the site. All right? That's where the building used to stand. And basically, it's been almost a year that this place fell down, right? And they still have no idea what happened here, why this place fell down. Nobody knows, guys. There's been lots of different theories thrown around out there. Some people think that it was an engineering problem. Some people think that the ground was not stable. They don't really know, okay? And it's been over a year. So that's the first thing. How's it going?
How you doing?
Can I come in there and shoot a little bit?
Not with your flip-flops. No, sorry.
Okay.
Not with flip-flops.
If I had shoes, the answer would be yes?
Probably not even. It's
Okay.
an active work site, so...
Yeah. I just wanted to get a quick shot. I'm not going to walk around a lot. I got enough already, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, see, they got this thing locked down, guys. They won't let me in, obviously. Also, the guy said not with flip-flops, but I said, hey, even if I didn't have flip-flops, they probably still wouldn't let me in. Everybody's got this prejudice against the flip-flops. But I think it's because it's a hard hat work area, it's a construction site. So we're kind of walking around the perimeter of where the building used to be here. And what happened, guys, is recently a Florida judge ruled that the families here, the bereaved, are finally going to get a payment. $1 billion is going to be the payout, and it's going to come from multiple different sources. It's going to come from insurance companies. It's going to come from engineering companies. It's also going to come partly from the buyer of the land, who is a Dubai-based development firm that bought this land for $120 million, and they're going to put up yet another luxury high-rise here And the crazy thing about this, guys, is they paid $120 million for this property without even really knowing if the land is safe to build on. And one of the reasons I wanted to come over here today is because I wanted to get here before it's too late, right? Because things are moving slowly in Florida when it comes to construction anyhow. Oh, hold on a second. Maybe we can kind of see through here. Check this out, guys. I know it's not much, but I'm trying to get you as much as you can possibly see here. And you can still see part of the foundation is still there. And a lot of the rebar support beams are still down there as well. And then on this wall, they have all the names and ages of all the deceased, unfortunately. There's not much to see around the front besides the crazy traffic on Collins Avenue. And you see they closed this part of the street right here. They have this whole lane closed off there because after they had to take down the rest of the building that did not collapse, they said that this part of the street right there that's closed could be unstable due to the building coming down, and there is a risk of the street collapsing right there. So that's why they have this lane closed off next to the building. People still come and put flowers here and stuff like that. Now, obviously, $1 billion is a huge chunk of money, guys, that these people are getting for this tragedy, and rightfully so. It's going to, property owners that survived. It's going to family members who had somebody in here that got killed, and so the money is going to them. But another thing that has happened as a result of this is Florida has a new condo bill that was recently signed into law, and it's going to require some tighter restrictions on condos. Any condo here in Florida now that is 3 stories or taller needs to be inspected every 10 years after its certificate of occupancy reaches 30 years. So if the building is 30 years old, it needs to have an inspection every 10 years. And if they find issues during one of those inspections, then it gets shortened up to every 5 years. On top of that, the findings from these studies need to be published online for everybody to be able to see and read, okay? So that's the other thing. And all the condos here in Florida starting in 2024 are going to need to have an adequate reserve fund for repairs. In the past, condos could basically here just vote to have no reserves, okay? And now that's not going to be possible anymore starting in 2024. And this is going to have a major impact on the condo market throughout the entire state of Florida. The reason is because if you look at all the buildings that don't require reserves because they voted down and they just say we're going to pay a special assessment when the time comes, well, now they can't do that anymore starting in 2024. And what's going to happen is a lot of these buildings that have a bunch of retirees who are living on a fixed income, or these 55 and older buildings, are most likely going to be bought out and shut down because they're not going to be able to afford to operate. They probably won't be able to afford to have the amount of reserves that are going to be needed in order to comply with the law. So to me, what this is going to do, more than just keep things safe, it's also going to make even more of these buildings susceptible to buyouts where they're going to knock it down and there's going to be a nice brand new luxury development just like there is right next door to the Champlain Towers. And they were even claiming that the construction here was part of the reason that caused the collapse here next door because of all the pilings and stuff they have to drive into the ground, and it makes like these little mini earthquakes. If you come close, whenever it's happening, it's extremely loud and the ground does shake a little bit. So who knows, guys? It's such a sad thing that happened, but basically it's going to be yet another luxury high-rise in Miami, starting at God knows how much in price, probably $4 to $5 million, who knows. But this right here used to be an old Howard Johnson hotel back when I first moved here. It was still in operation, and then probably like 4 or 5 years after I moved here, the place shut down and they demolished the building, and eventually they built this place. So this is going to be the trend moving forward everywhere here in Miami and throughout Florida, guys, as more of these condos cannot afford to stay in business, so to speak. And you see right here, this is where the boardwalk begins, going all the way down to Miami Beach. That's where I live, down there. And then right here where it ends is Surfside. So taking you on a nice little tour today while we talk about some real estate stuff. Now recently, the first attempt at passing a rent control law in Florida was actually introduced in Orange County, which is up in the Orlando area of Florida, guys. And this quickly got shot down by the Florida Realtor Association. They filed a lawsuit along with the Florida Apartment Association, and they said that this is against Florida state law, which it is. They cannot pass these rent control laws. They go on to say that the other reason for blocking this is not only is it against the law, but they say that studies show that rent control has unintended consequences and they can just make matters worse. And a better solution would be to provide public-private partnerships that result in more affordable housing units. So the Florida approach to this is we're not going to have rent control. We need to have more people building apartment buildings throughout the state that increase our inventory, and that will help alleviate the price issue. And I agree, guys, that's the right way to go about it, not this rent control stuff, because if you look at any area throughout the entire country where they have rent control, it never works. All it does is hurt the local market, really puts a damper on building. Nobody wants to build, and then landlords try to find any way they can to skirt the law and get tenants out of these rent control units so they can ultimately raise the price. So all this is going to do, if they try to do this here, is make things worse. And I know renters are hurting and there needs to be some sort of relief, but this probably is not the answer, because we've already seen in other states where they do this that it doesn't work. So why are we going to repeat it? So I'm glad that they're blocking this, but I also hope to see some swift action when it comes to building more multifamily, more apartment complexes, condos, and things like that that people can afford in a timely manner, because obviously that's much needed. Florida is a booming state. We have tons of people moving here every single day, and we just need more places for people to live, guys. It's such a beautiful day out here today. If I didn't have all this camera gear and my microphone on me, I would just jump right in, guys. I wish I had some more waterproof stuff so I could just go right in the water right now. It's so gorgeous. It's like a perfect beach day out here. It's so beautiful. Another thing that's happening, which is an absolute outrage, guys, is Michael Burry, the guy who was the caller of The Big Short back when we had the 2008 financial crisis. He has basically been calling out the government and showing how they are flat out lying to us right now and committing fraud. Because get this, part of their plan to do QE, or quantitative easing, which is taking money supply out of the economy, is starting in June, they were supposed to start decreasing their balance sheet by $47.5 billion, okay? And this is supposed to come from selling off mortgage-backed securities and treasury bonds. And they are selling off some of their treasuries, guys, but get this, here's the real kicker. Mortgage-backed securities, as of August 4th, their most recent report, actually went up $8 billion instead of down by the promised $17.5 billion. Now, here's why this is important. Because a lot of people are wondering, hey, why hasn't the housing market crashed yet? There's all this talk of the housing market crashing, yet I'm seeing prices go up in my neighborhood. Well, this is the reason, guys, because even though they are raising interest rates, they're not doing one piece of the puzzle that they promised to do, which is offloading these mortgage-backed securities instead of purchasing more. And if they start doing what they say they're going to do and actually start offloading these mortgage-backed securities, you're going to see mortgage lending dry up like there's no tomorrow, guys, because how many banks are going to be out there putting their own money at risk to get you into a home and get you in a mortgage if they don't have the Fed to come in and buy these mortgage-backed securities? This is literally the last piece of the house of cards that's keeping this whole thing afloat right now. That's it. Just the fact that they're not offloading these mortgage-backed securities like they're supposed to. That's the next thing we need to watch for. We need to watch to see if they're going to start doing this, because if they do, then that's going to be the end. That's when we're really going to see housing prices come down faster than you've ever seen it before, because it's literally the last thing holding the market up, guys. And I encourage you to go to Redfin, guys. Check your local market insights. You can do this for any town basically that they track data on, and you can even see that prices are starting to come down. Even in hot areas like here in Miami, median house price is down over the past couple of months, okay, by like 20 grand. So that's not a lot compared to how much it's gone up, but it's just a start. And the reason why that's important is because they haven't even stopped this mortgage-backed security buying yet. And as soon as they do, you're going to see these median home price numbers drop through the floor. That's what I think is going to happen. However, if they continue buying these mortgage-backed securities, then we might see nothing happen. We might see the housing market continue to go up for a little while longer until these rate hikes make it so unaffordable at these prices that ends up being the catalyst that ends up bringing the whole show down, even if they continue buying the mortgage-backed securities. My guess is the reason why they're doing this is because it's literally the only thing left that the Fed can do to try to keep the housing market afloat. But I don't think they're going to be able to continue with this because this is fraud, guys. They're lying to us. They're telling us one thing and they're doing another thing. In fact, last night I was just listening to the Rich Dad radio show, Robert Kiyosaki. I've been listening to him for years, and he said in his most recent show, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And this is the perfect example of that, guys. They say they're going to lower the balance sheet when in fact they're increasing it, especially in the area that's mattering the most right now, which is the mortgage-backed security. So we need to watch for this and see if they do a reversal on this at some point, or if they continue lying and going in the opposite direction that they say they're going to be going in. But to me, all of the signs are starting to add up to this turning into a full-scale housing crash, mainly because they've done everything they can to pump it up, and it's still falling in some places, guys, even in hot places like Miami, where the median home price is starting to go down. So if printing $6 trillion didn't do it, and continuing to buy the mortgage-backed securities didn't do it, and keeping the interest rates extremely low for a long time didn't do it, then nothing is going to be able to save this economy, okay? Just like I said in the last video, we need to get off the debt, which is the drugs, and get back to the real economy, which is actually earning money if you want to stay afloat, not borrowing it. And that needs to be the way forward, because it's the only way that our country or the global economy in general is going to survive long term. Now, I'm not against using debt if it's used for the right purposes, but clearly this has been far too much abused, and we're starting to see the consequences of this now. See, guys, there's like a mix of old and new buildings here. This building, really old. That building, really old. This building, really old. This one, brand new. And the one next door is totally abandoned. That white one, they're gonna be tearing that one down, who knows when, probably any day now, to build more multi-million-dollar condos here. And that black one next door, that's where Ivanka and Jared live while they're building their mansion over there on Indian Creek Drive. So people like that, they don't have anything to worry about, guys. They're gonna be fine regardless of what happens. In fact, I'm sure they're all praying for a crash, because that means they're gonna be able to start picking up real estate deals at pennies on the dollar, just like last time. And I personally hope to do the same thing. I'm not rich, guys, but I've been saving money, and I hope that in this correction that I'm gonna be able to pick up a couple additional rental properties. You know, if I pick up 2 of them, you know, within the span of a couple years, that's a win for me. I'm not rich, I'm not loaded, and I couldn't afford to do more than that probably anyways. And then, you know, as the years go on, you pick up a few more, and it's enough to have a modest retirement on. You know, I don't need to have 500 rental units and be some multimillionaire to make me happy. That's just not my style. So, but regardless, I'm still gonna be here on YouTube no matter what happens with that, because I enjoy making these videos for you guys too much to stop. If you guys enjoyed this video and you found it entertaining, please subscribe to the channel. Check out my next video on the screen right over here, and I'll catch you over in the next one.